We're here to talk about Bad Blood that went down tonight. Of course, we're going to talk about the main event. Let's get to that. And of course, we're going to talk about the rest of the show. But again, leave your comments, leave your questions on Facebook and on YouTube. We would appreciate that so very much. We'll interact as best we can, answer as many questions as we can, and of course, give our thoughts as to what's going on. So, Andy, let's start there. Let's start at the main event. The Rock returning. It was rumored because I guess he had promised a high school football team in Georgia. I think it was high school, or maybe a small college. I don't hold me to that, but he promised them he'd be at their game. He was, and then he shows up at the end of the night. What an awesome main event, and then what an epic ending to it. My jaw is still on the floor, dude.
Yeah, and apparently he just before the show even started, rolled up to where Talent parked in his big black truck because everybody can tell the Rock's truck versus everybody else. So he kind of just gave away that he was there, but no, I didn't. Nobody really knew if he was going to show up on the show or not tonight. But yeah, it was a crazy ending, kind of an all over the place main event with more than just one return, more than just the Rock returning.
Yes.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a great main event. Honestly, don't know if it should have main evented or not. Still, I think that still is, even with Rock coming back, I still think that is up for discussion because of how the show kicked off. But yeah, it was a great night of wrestling, and the main event was what it built up to be. And Roman looked great. Roman looked great in his first match back. Jacob Fatu stood out like he always does. And Cody Rhodes is the champ, and he acted like it, and Solo was there, so it was a lot of fun.
Was there. I love that so much. Yeah, man, I texted you in the middle of the show. I'm like, listen, Roman just looks fantastic. He does. He looks to be in great shape. And he looked great in the ring. I thought it was weird seeing him do some babyface things, like the 10 punches in the corner was real strange. And doing the hot tag stuff, and it was kind of strange.
It's gonna take a minute. It's going to take a minute to get used to it.
Yeah, it definitely is going to take a minute. You mentioned Rock was not the only return. Jimmy Uso returned at the end. Dude, when the camera finally panned up and I saw the bandana, I'm like, yes, Jim, let's go, man. And I thought there was a chance. Here's what I thought would happen. So Jimmy comes back. Again, full disclosure, this is a live reaction show. We're spoiling everything. So if you haven't watched yet, sorry. You tuned in for a reaction show, you're going to get a reaction. Jimmy helps Roman get the win. They hug it out. And then they go out of the ring. And then the bloodline jumps Cody. Andy, I honestly thought that as they were standing there discussing it, that Jay's music was going to hit, and Jay was going to sprint through them and go help Cody, and they would follow suit.
Yeah, I mean, because we knew Jay was in the building. We saw him earlier in the backstage, in the party press thing that they had going on. And the crowd was, at one point, they were yeeting in the middle of the match whenever things started to break down. Whenever the Tongans came out is when I think they started doing it. And part of me was hoping that he would kind of come out, because I think that's a natural way to bring him into the storyline, because it's a dual branded pay-per-view. He's not just randomly on a SmackDown coincidentally, he's there for a reason, and Cody's his buddy. So I think all of that would have played a really good part. But I still enjoyed it when they turned, because I heard Michael Cole say, "Corey, do you see that?" And when he said that, I was like, why is Hikuleo coming out now? This is a really weird spot for him to come out. And then they flipped the camera over, and I saw, like you said, when I saw the bandana, I was like, that's Jimmy. Jimmy's about to super kick them. And it was awesome.
It was so cool. And I loved his shirt. They aren't the real ones, or whatever it said.
Yeah.
That was super cool, man. I don't know. I've always been a fan of Jimmy, even when they were a team, before they split off and Jay became Big Star. I've always been a fan of Jimmy. I don't know what it is. But obviously we see more Jay's personality now, but I've just always gravitated toward Jimmy. I guess, I don't know. You always have your favorite in the tag team, right?
You do.
So Jimmy returns. Again, Roman goes back to the ring, he and Jimmy, and they attack the bloodline. And then Roman hands the belt to Cody, and then the Rock's music hits. The Rock comes out. He does the slice the throat. He gives the eyebrow. Man, it's like all the stuff we talked extensively a couple of weeks ago about the stories that they can now tell with Cody Rhodes and with Kevin Owens and with Randy Orton and with Jey Uso, and how, they're going to be upset with him aligning himself with Roman Reigns. One thing that we didn't mention, and I can't believe we didn't, is how this affects Rock and how he would be upset with Roman for joining up with Cody after everything that they went through, after Rock coming back and all of the things. So, like Aaron says in the comments right here, what does it all mean? There are so many directions that they can go with this.
Yeah. There's a lot of directions they can go with it. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is, I think, something we've talked about kind of here and there in the past, especially post WrestleMania 40, is we could be looking at a triple threat at WrestleMania between these three guys. And part of the way that we can get there is, maybe at the Rumble, Rock and Cody wrestle, and then Roman gets involved in that and costs them, or whatever the case is. And Kevin Owens fits, obviously, after tonight. Kevin Owens fits in there somewhere, and then who knows where Randy fits in that whole dilemma as well. So there's there's 8 stories going on at the same time with everybody involved, and you don't know which one. At some point, some of them are going to have to take precedent over the others. But the good thing about that is you always have the things to fall back to.
Yep.
And I think that's something that's going to be really interesting to look at as we're heading into WrestleMania season. Like, what is everybody's direction?
Yep.
And I think that's kind of true, like, all across the board. Now that Punk Drew is over, where do both of them go? Obviously, we recorded Raw early Monday night, and then all of a sudden Seth Rollins returns, so he's back in the mix now. So, like, there's just a lot of things up in the air right now heading into WrestleMania, heading into the Rumble, to where the Rumble this year is looking like a unpredictable field about who can win it.
Yes.
And that's what makes the Rumble fun. Is like, you have your favorites who could win. But it's always fun when it's like, well, that guy can win. That guy can win. Like, she can win. She can win. She can win. We can go all these different directions. So it's going to be, I think this year's WrestleMania, the build is going to be even more chaotic than last year.
Let me just say this. There are so many directions that I could go with everything you just said. There is so much to unpack with what you just said. So let me take a couple of pieces at a time. I think we keep referring to, normally we would refer to WrestleMania season as January to WrestleMania. I mean, when they started doing day one pay-per-view, okay, we kind of set that aside and okay, Rumble to WrestleMania. That's the general season. With Triple H in charge, dude, it's WrestleMania season all season long. Like there's no off season from it, because it all builds to certain things at WrestleMania at certain times. And there are milestones, like they talked about in the WrestleMania Behind the Curtain documentary, milestones that they have planned out that they need to hit and all that kind of stuff. And I think they're hitting them now, because last year's WrestleMania, the chaotic build that it was, I think it ironed out what we're seeing now. So I don't think they are flying by the seat of their pants like they were in January. I think this is strategic right here. Now, whether it was Bad Blood as the site for it happening, maybe not, but there are moments in time that they are plotting and building and hitting. So let me ask you this. Again, we have speculated lots of different directions they could go, specifically for War Games. Is it Bloodline versus Bloodline? Is it the babyface super team versus, the Bloodline 2.0? Obviously, with the Kevin Owens attack tonight, afterwards, if you guys missed it on social media, apparently Kevin attacked Cody outside of his bus. Not sure what prompted that. I thought we might get a little more. Maybe we'll get an explanation this Friday, I would assume. I thought there might be something more on screen that prompted it. I don't know if there's something that happened in the match tonight that prompted it. I don't know. Regardless. So Kevin attacking Cody, he's out of the mix. If that babyface team is to happen, he's out of the mix. So does that mean, especially with Rock returning, are we now for sure headed to Bloodline versus Bloodline in War Games.
I mean, I would assume so, but I don't know. I mean, I think because we kind of talked about this before. I don't think Rock is going to wrestle at War Games. I think he's going to be there. I just don't think he's going to, especially after tonight. But I don't think I would be shocked if he's actually going to wrestle inside of War Games. Like that would be something I don't expect to see. So if you look at it that way, then the new Bloodline, you've got Solo, Jacob, and Tamatanga Tongaloa.
4.
And then on the other side, you would have Roman, Jimmy, probably Jay, and then Sammy, more than likely.
Yes.
So I mean, that's probably I can see that way happening. Although I feel like if that was going to happen, Jay would have gotten involved more tonight.
Well, we still have
he'll get involved quicker. He'll get involved at some point.
We still have Crown Jewel to go.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if Jay is still the Intercontinental Champion when he gets involved. Because again, we talked last week about Jay having a championship, Roman not having a championship. How's all that going to work out? Speaking of championships, Aaron posted this. Did Rock have the Brahma Bull belt? Yes, that is the People's Champion championship belt that he got from Ali. Same thing. So he had that tonight. Also, speaking of belts, yes, Aaron, I see your comment about the Crown Jewel belt. We'll get to that in just a minute. Aaron says his sources are telling him that Kevin Owens is anti-marching band and beat up Cody for his entrance. That's hilarious. Dude, both Cody and Roman had incredible entrances tonight. Both of their auras, it was fantastic to see. Yeah,
it was awesome. The marching band was okay. Like before Cody's music actually hit, they were great. And then I feel like there was a timing mishap and something, but still, like the Atlanta crowd was hot for Cody as soon as it came out. They went nuts. And then I was expecting the marching band for Cody. I was not expecting the orchestra to be there for Roman though. That kind of popped me. But it makes sense. His first match back since WrestleMania. He came out. He looked the part. Part of me was hoping when he slowly made his way out, Paul Heyman would just like walk out behind him.
Yeah.
Because surely Paul has to get back involved sometime soon.
Yes.
Hopefully he does. But yeah, their entrances. It felt like a massive pay-per-view just because of how it started. All the things, like all the celebrities and stuff that were there, all the legends that were there, and then your two biggest stars get their big entrances going into the main event. So it was really cool to see that.